It is the 8th season of F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2026. We are loving it here at the Formula One Media and Technology Centre. We have been treated to two fantastic races so far as we went around Jeddah and earlier on today around Barcelona, Catalunya circuit. Fantastic stuff. We have seen two pole positions secured by the one and only Otis Lawrence. And I'm obviously holding it back because my studio guests are looking at me like, now, wait a minute, he had three. Well, I wanted to tease it up a little bit for the fact he has managed to do it. He'll be starting on pole as we go racing very shortly around Silverstone. It's been an incredible day for him and yesterday. But Nina Jade, first time in F1 Sim Racing. What surprised you most over the last 2 days?
I would say the passion, and the passion that everyone has, not just the drivers, they are very passionate and very vocal, but the passions of the teams. You know, there are emotions there. People get angry, people get sad, people get excited, ecstatic. It's nice to see how much this truly means to everyone.
Yeah, and we know how much it means to Otis Lawrence. I've already said and explained to everyone 3 pole positions. It's just phenomenal, the form he's in at the moment. Just translating that to race wins at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, at just 18 years of age, Otis Lawrence is making waves in the esports scene, and he has been on such unbelievable performance this season. He said he's hungry for it. He said he wants it. He feels that this could be his year that he wins the championship, and I can't argue with him on that at all.
Yeah, Alex Jakes, a pleasure to have you here for Event 2. You weren't part of Event 1.
No.
So
someone scheduled it up against the Japanese Grand Prix, didn't they?
As the voice of F1, what's shocked you, surprised you most coming back for Event 2?
I was very surprised to see names that I was used to calling at the front last year sort of faded out of view. We'll get into who's on the up and who's on the down, but it was a way more of a shuffling of the order than perhaps I expected. Yes, you've always got Jarno Opmeer in the mix, but some have faded away. You've got some teams doing we're going to use all 3 drivers, others going, no, we've got our big 2 and we're going to run them all the time, like Red Bull, who aren't going to mess around unless they're forced into a change. So I'm surprised, especially at this man, Thomas Ronhaar, not being as much in the mix as we've become used to in recent times.
Yeah, earlier on today, we raced around Barcelona. Otis Lawrence was on pole, but Ismail Fassi, this guy that you're seeing right now, took the win. There were some issues, I will say.
What were they?
He had some issues that he had to overcome.
Yeah.
We're at that point now. We're coming up to all of the action over the day. We're getting to that stage now where we're massive smiles on our face, enjoying it. And he had to deliver, and he was surprised about those issues, i.e. a bit of contact with Otis Lawrence, which we're leading up to, and Jarno Opmeer. But great race for him today.
Yeah, indeed. He had a great job fighting his way through the field, had a lot of work to do, being on that alternate strategy to make his way through on the mediums. That is where he picked up the damage. DRS game was being played from the 2 in front of Otis Lawrence and Jarno Opmeer, and that actually hindered the run there from Ismail Fassi. But there was not to worry about too much. A little bit of contact. He saw the 2 cars go flying around behind him, and from there it was smooth sailing to the line. Ismail Fassi, welcome back to the top spot of the stadium. Hadn't won a race until since the first round in 2025, and just look at what it meant to him right there.
It meant so much to him that you could hear Vamos being shouted right there in the arena. That's what it's done for the driver's standings before we go to our last race around Silverstone for Event 2. And Nico Longe back up there. He was one of your drivers that we've watched over the years, Alex, and so I think any minute now, it's going to happen. He's going to get his first championship.
Yeah, and yet this is a driver who, for the majority of the day, has been unhappy. And we've seen that he doesn't feel that he's at 100% at all, and yet, using all of that experience that he's got year on, year out to deliver, they're all trying to beat Red Bull. I feel we could just clip that up and use that most years.
It does feel rinse repeat for the fact that Freddie Rasmussen and Jarno Opmeer, we know what they're capable of, 17 wins each. But sort of form isn't quite there for Freddie. He said earlier on in a chat with you that he's disappointed with his pace. He's just not got it.
Yeah, I think he's being a little bit hard on himself, but obviously he holds himself to a very high standard, and we know what Freddie is capable of. But what he's not giving himself enough credit for, and I've mentioned this before, is his strategy and the team's ability to strategise and make the most out of maybe not a great quali, but he got a podium this afternoon.
Yeah, and we know we've spoken about that so many times, the rinse and repeat of Jarno has not qualified that well, and yet goes on to maybe pick up a win like he did in Bahrain. This is what's happened so far. Jeddah done, Barcelona out of the way. Now we move to Silverstone, and I tell you what, quali didn't disappoint either, did it, Kai?
No, it didn't. There was a lot of big moments in qualifying. Also, some big hitters making early departures as well. Two of those being the two in the lead of the championship, Jarno Opmeer, and we had Nico Longe as well exit from Q2. It was a P11 result for Nico Longe, P13 for Jarno Opmeer. Not what you would be hoping for the two up at the top of the tables, but we've seen Jarno do it before. We've seen Jarno do it already this season. In Bahrain, he was able to come through from 12th on the grid to take home a victory from 13th. Can he repeat that?
He said, "It is what it is. We'll see." When he chatted to you from Jarno, which means I feel like when drivers are most worried is when Jarno is just in the game. He just knows what is expected of him and how he's going to extract the most amount of points he possibly can get.
What sort of result is it going to be? Is it going to be one of those absolutely soul-crushing performances where he pulls a rabbit out of a hat and everyone else is like, this guy can go out in Q2 and he still finds a way, or is it going to be damage limitation? And around Silverstone, he was already straight talking about the conditions. Can I get conditions that allow me a chance? It's a dry race. He doesn't think he's got the opportunity to do what we've seen from him sometimes.
Yeah, he was talking about rain. Maybe that will happen. Maybe that will change things up. And with Otis Lawrence, you're talking about adaptability. That is what he is finding as he spoke to you, Nina, about the fact that you've gone from one race, completely different setup and conditions, to coming into this race around Silverstone.
Yeah, the master of qualifying. I mean, he's had some bad luck, but also I think he maybe has to think about his racecraft a little bit. It's all very well being super powerful over one lap, but you have to convert it. That's where the points are. I think Otis needs to make the most of the fact that his championship rival went out in Q2, so he cannot put a foot wrong this afternoon.
Wow, you are seeing the difference between two drivers. One who's just got 3 poles in a row, and also Thomas Ronhaar, which was, I think it was about 5,000, 6,000 of a second difference. Can we pinpoint that 6,000 of our eyes are capable of doing that in any way, shape or form? This is not easy watching their lap time.
Let's find out. A difference in steering lock for Otis Lawrence through Village Corner, way more compared to Ronhaar's slightly more relaxed style behind the wheel. Throttle pickup is nearly identical. You've got the deltas on the left-hand side. You can see how much Lawrence is improving at this stage. She's line in, leans a lot on the tyre, almost inducing the understeer by design through there. And you can see it's given him the advantage by 0.03 of a second. That's a deliberate move. That's hours of practice. We talk about the hours of practice. That's where it comes in. Let's listen to them through the iconic Copse Corner. So at this stage, Ronhaar's going to be on for something special at the end here because Otis Lawrence is lowering the bar really nicely. So Ronhaar's going to have a strong couple of corners if those graphics are accurate. You can see how much Otis Lawrence is leaning on the curb on the exit, and it's cost him a little bit of momentum. Ronhaar barely improving on the live time at this stage. And you can see how close they are. A little bit more animated. When Ronhaar's more animated behind the wheel, that's not where he wants to be. So as a result, that's not the ideal line. Otis Lawrence is far more animated with the steering. They come across the line, and that is what 0.06 of a second looks like. Almost imperceptible.
Yeah, hard to pick up there. You noticed during qualifying, no purple sectors for Otis Lawrence. What did you take from that?
I think that just shows how close the field is, though, that 3 separate drivers in that qualifying session all had those purple sectors. Not a single one went the way of Otis Lawrence, yet he was still able to string together that pole position lap. And it doesn't always have to be perfect. It just needs to be close enough to perfection that you're able to take out the mistakes on the other drivers and expose the mistakes in the other drivers' laps. And that's exactly what Otis Lawrence did there.
Let's get the classifications from that quali around Silverstone. Here, our 8th time we will be setting up for Silverstone in F1 sim racing. And there you have it. Ulas Özildrim, I've not mentioned him yet for Racing Bulls. He's fast. He's been in and out of the rig for the team, and yet seems to be delivering every time.
Yeah, OK, so you take the option as, all right, so I'm not going to get all the races. Can you then put yourself at the forefront of the races you do get? because he wouldn't have been happy to be benched earlier on, but he would have known it was coming. Great response. His first lap in Q3, 0.3 of a second off, finished 300ths. That's an excellent recovery on his way to P3.
Yeah, Joris Krozen had scored in every single race so far until our last one around Barcelona. Just didn't get out of Q1. But an opportunity to pick up some points again at exactly the same time as Ismail Fassi. And Alvaro Carreton stepping in, as we were mentioning about Ula stepping out and stepping back in again. Alvaro Carreton did that and has delivered. I'm excited to see what he can possibly do.
Yeah, love to see that from the Spaniard. The longest serving driver for a single team in F1 sim racing history. Still yet to take home that victory. Speaking to you earlier on this weekend, Nina. I say this weekend. It feels like a weekend, doesn't it? We keep saying it between us. We always say it feels like a weekend. It feels like a Sunday. No, it's only Thursday.
Yes.
But 2 days of brilliant action it's been. You were speaking to Alvaro Carreton today. Still yet to find that victory. And he says this season could be the season.
I think it could be the season for him. I mean, he had a great showing in qualifying and he was quite concerned about the weather for Silverstone. And, you know, if it does rain, he was worried about overtakes, mistakes. But I don't know. What do we think, guys? Are we going to get a bit of rain?
What, is he the driver to watch? Would you pick him as the driver to watch, Alex?
He did a phenomenal job if you consider that he's got a couple of pole positions in the championship in the past and the big pressure. All right, so you've focused all of your effort on Silverstone, but still delivered. And top 5 in this championship, no matter when you deliver it. Very, very impressive. He should be delighted with that.
Yeah. Is Thomas Ronha someone to watch for you today?
He very much is my person to watch. Very teed up wonderfully, Tom, I have to say. I don't know where he's been. It's great to see him at the front. You could hear how disappointed he was to miss out on pole position. That shows you that the fire's still burning. And this is a big, big chance to change the narrative of what's been a tough campaign so far.
Nina, I wonder which driver you would choose today. A driver to watch, keep your eye on?
I'm going with Otis, simply because he's a man on a mission. And, you know, 3 poles, if he can't convert at least one of them, then it'll be unfortunate for him. So let's hope.
It's the theatrics that I think every other driver and every other team is waiting to see how he responds with the adrenaline, with the emotions. Is it going to be a cheeky little dance? No,
I reckon if he wins this race, the last race of the event, the roof will come off.
I wonder at the point, because earlier on from event 1, we didn't know who Jarno Opmeer had pointed towards. We have our thoughts on that. And then there's been some back and forth, some words. And then, as he said, chatting to you, nothing personal. So we like to see that emotion from the driver, but they know it's just sim racing.
It's the heat of the moment. You know, your emotions do come at you sometimes. And yes, Otis was shouting earlier, but you know, Red Bull was shouting back. So it was very much a mixing pot of emotions. And then, you know, you calm down, you take a step away and you say, it's just sim racing, it's nothing personal. There's a great mutual respect there.
Of course. And as Otis always refers to Jarno as the GOAT. Kai, driver to watch?
Oh, let's not take our eyes off Fast Freddie Rasmussen. He's had a tough couple of races. His morale is a little bit low. We're going from Otis, who's very loud and bubbly, to someone who's quite shy and within themselves. He may not be a man of many words, but a man of many results. Freddie Rasmussen, he's bouncing back from a low, and that result in qualifying P4, second row. I can see some work coming from that man in the Red Bull colours.
Jarno Opmeer starts in P13, and I'm thinking to myself, will every other team sort of be watching what's Jarno going to do here? Is that how you see things unfolding a little bit, Alex?
Do you remember Man United in the 90s?
Oh, do I?
They had an ability to just scare their opponents into reacting to plays that weren't even there. Everyone's watching Jarno Opmeer like a hawk. You've got to beat the myth as well as the man. And when you know that he's going to pull the trigger early one way or the other on the strategy, they're going to be paying a lot of attention to what he does. Therefore, it is going to have a big effect because you're going to have to cover him off. If you're at that point fighting him, you're going to have to do that if he does something different with the strategy. Opmeer is in everyone's head.
I wanted to leave just a little pause so everyone could just really resonate and take that on board. Kai, how do you see things unfolding? Where do you think the drivers will be going for the alternative strategy? What might we see? Because we saw soft tyres being used around Barcelona. We weren't expecting that.
I wouldn't expect to see any soft tyres on the cars here at Silverstone. Silverstone, high downforce, high degradation circuit. It's a tough one on the tyres for these drivers, so they're going to have a lot of work to do, being mindful of their degradation, taking care of the tyres, especially if they're starting on that alternate strategy on the hard compounds, trying to make that first run go a little bit longer. you need to take care of your tyres. Dirty air is not going to help that at all, but strategy, once again, like every other race this season, is going to be a big factor.
I know you've mentioned the drivers to look out for. You're looking for Otis. Alex, you're looking towards Thomas Ronhaar. Out of the previous winners, Rasmussen's won it 3 times, Jarno Opmeer, Nico Longe, Marcel Kiefer, shout out, and Brendan Lee. Any of those maybe getting a repeat victory today?
I don't think so. I think we're in for someone new.
Wow, OK. Could you maybe name that person? I've been asking for predictions.
I think it's going to be Otis Lawrence. I think he's got a real point to prove. I think quite a lot of the arena are expecting him to drive with emotion in maybe the way that doesn't take him to the top step. I think he wants to prove a lot of people wrong after what happened earlier.
OK, Kai, prediction for you?
Return to form. Qualifying's been strong for him. And you know what? Why not? Thomas Ronhaar. It seems to be his race. Exactly. Thomas Ronhaar, runner-up not so long ago in the championship, and now finds himself on the front row once again, so close to that pole position. He knows he had it within him, and he knows he has a race win within him.
Now is the time to turn up for the party. What about yourself, Nina?
Joe, now I'm thinking Thomas Ronhaar would be a great story. Knocked out of Q3, wasn't it? He got knocked out yesterday to take a win today, but I'm sticking with Otis.
He didn't make it. He shocked everyone by not making it to Q3 for the last 2 races, and this one he has. Right, I will send our commentators, Alex Jakes and Kai Vicini, away, heading now to the incredible...
Are we going now?
Not quite.
Are we going right now?
I want to just, get you set ready for this here at the F1 Media and Technology Centre.
We'll go now. There we go.
You can go now. You're allowed to go now. As myself and Nina have a look around the circuit of Silverstone. It's incredible just being there. It's one of my favourite circuits on the F1 Sim race, but also real life, just stunning. For the last 3 years, been there. It's full of emotion, and these drivers will know it so well. What are you hoping for? I know you've predicted who might take this one, but what else could happen? In terms of the storyline.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a track we all know so well, and it's quite dear to our hearts. I'm hoping for. I think Barcelona shocked us. We weren't expecting that much drama. I'm not saying we're hoping for drama, but I do want some nice surprises, maybe in the top 3. I think with this track in particular, the setup is so important. If it's a dry race, you don't want too much downforce to be vulnerable on the straights. You don't want too little to be unstable in the corners. So you've really got to get that setup and that balance right in order to be successful here.
How much have you noticed? I mean, I asked Jack Crawford, the Aston Martin reserve driver, yesterday, as we see the tyre strategy and the pit stop strategy of what might happen and when during this race. But he was talking about how important a team setup is. What have you noticed down there? Because I feel so far away from it right now, being here in the studio. What have you noticed in that team and how they communicate with one another?
They are very communicative.
Yeah.
Tom. Yeah, I mean, it's nice. They're one of the more vocal ones. But what I will say is the teams are so quite close together. So even if they're chatting away, the team next to them can hear. So they do have to be quite careful what they say out loud.
Well, 2 people who are very close are Alex Jakes right now with Kai Vicini. Looking forward to this race around Silverstone.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, Mr. Deacon. Cans are on, grid is set. Duncan Hofland is ready to line up. 18th on the grid, he's in the car for this one. John Evans was disappointed to be knocked out in the first part of qualifying. They're on the back row for this one. And we move to Thomas Gall, who's in 16th position. Tom Manley is in 15th place. They are looking for something extraordinary to happen. They've got a wet race on their hands. It's exactly what those at the back wanted to see. Julian Klaffenbach, is finding himself in 14th. Jarno Opmeer is finding himself in P13 with it all to do, and he's got a wet race to use as well. Jake Benham is in 12th position. Nico Longe will be another one delighted to see something other than the usual. Ruben Pedreno is in 10th. Danny Beresne back in the Alpine and back in P9. Joris Krozen is in 8th position, and in 7th is Ismail Fassi. Our most recent race winner going from P7, from P6 is Alfie Butcher, and Alvaro Caraton is in the Williams, unlike earlier on, and he's in the top 5. An excellent performance in qualifying when it counted. Freddie Rasmussen, P4, Ulas Ozelderem finding himself back in the Racing Bulls entry and in 3rd position with a chance to try and score that breakthrough win today. And on the front row, Thomas Ronhaar returns after a really difficult time. Otis Lawrence is in first position for the third qualifying session in a row. He's the driver to beat from pole. Here come the lights. It's a wet race at Silverstone, and we're underway. Lawrence off the line, maintaining the lead. Thomas Ronhaar in second. Elzelderim very close to Freddie Rasmussen as they sweep through, uncertain of the conditions underneath them. Alvaro Carreton hanging on to fifth place. Alfie Butcher and Ismail Fassi are the main battle on the opening lap, and it's Alfie Butcher who's managed to get up to sixth place. Ismail Fassi fighting with Joris Krozen right now. Jarno Opmeer has got on with it. He is P9 at the moment. It's Otis Lawrence with the lead.
A couple of drivers getting a bit squirmish on the rear end there through the first few corners. Jake Benham we saw taken to the runoff there onto the straight, but he almost spoke it into existence. Jarno Opmeer was praying for a wet race. He loves a wet race, does Jarno Opmeer, and that's where he comes into his element and is able to show his control for the car and racecraft combined up into P9 already, gaining 4 positions from where he qualified. Otis Lawrence out in front, managing to maintain that gap to Thomas Ronhaar. Not many changes up at the front end for the time being, but mistakes in the rain are amplified by 100, and anything can happen. On board with Ronhaar now as he's peering down the rear end of Otis Lawrence. You can see almost carving the racing line into this standing water on the circuit. No DRS enabled. Overtakes are going to be difficult.
It feels like a field that are definitely assessing the conditions underneath them. You find yourself at this stage, and Danny Beresnay not having an easy opening lap. He's lost 6 positions. Duncan Hoffland, meanwhile, making up for a really tricky qualifying and going maximum attack. It's got him to the brink of the points.
Well, with these conditions, not wet enough for full wet tyres, as you can see. Not a lot of standing water down the straight as the drivers are starting to make their way through on the racing line. Otis Lawrence, of course, with the fastest lap of the race so far, as he's the first driver to cross the timing beam, as we're looking at Freddie Rasmussen right there. Sorry, no, that is going to be Jarno Opmeer teeing up the rear end of Joris Krozen, not able to get a move in just yet. You've got to be so accurate with the front end here. This is where the flick strategy of what you'll see in these drivers. You may watch the onboards and think they're so aggressive turning into the corner. Surely that's just destroying the tyres. No, well, that's the strategy for this one. You have to flick it in to get that car rotated, and that is where it will make a huge difference for these drivers to be using.
The teams are reacting to the weather report that they can see on their monitors in the arena, and it says for the moment that these might be consistent conditions. We've seen things change late on in F1 sim racing in the past, but we could be set for an intermediate race all the way through. A wet Silverstone, we've been so used to it, no matter in the sim racing championship and real life as well, but it gives a totally different complexion of the race. Remember what Jarno Opmeer said, I need the conditions to go from dry to wet or wet to dry, otherwise it is a lot of effort. He's made up a couple of places, but he would have been aiming for the podium if it was a drying race. The information the teams have in front of them right now is that it is going to be consistent conditions.
Well, teams can have a huge impact in this race, and they will have before these cars have even been let loose onto the circuit, as setup of the cars will be so crucial. There'll be multiple cars on different setups to attack the conditions. As you mentioned there, looking to have these wet conditions all the way throughout the race, as crossing the timing beams right now, obviously much slower times than what we were seeing in qualifying earlier on, almost 20 seconds slower than what we were seeing. But Freddie Rasmussen just trying to make his way through. Jarno Opmeer seems to hit a bit of a dead spot in the race, as he can't find a way past Joris Krozen just yet.
So Otis Lawrence with a really prime position at this stage of proceedings. The driver who saw the victory chance slip away late on and then was penalised for what had been a limp home to 8th position, saw his Barcelona event only go down as 1 point scored. He's added another point today by starting from pole position, and so Ronhaar is making use of these conditions, but 0.7 of a second the gap. Elzelderim trying to continue. So we mentioned that it was a tough start off the line for Danny Beresnay and Nico Longuet. Let's have a look into why. Longuet in 10th position at this stage. Danny Beresnay directly ahead as well. We're on board with Jake Benham, and it's going to get very messy in the middle of the pack. This is Village Corner. This is the wider line, traditionally seen in the wet. Oh, it's just an absolute mess. Wheels locking, cars going nowhere, and it's allowing so many to get through. That is a shambles of a sight. Jake Benham having to take evasive action. This is going to be really difficult for the drivers involved.
Yeah, it's so difficult to get a move done here. Just so much congestion, slippery conditions. Nobody can quite get the traction down as everyone just gridlocked here. It's worse than the M1 on a Friday night at 6 o'clock, as none of these drivers can seem to find any space to make their way through. Through the loop is always going to be a tricky position to overtake, and especially on the first lap. Very close to losing a front wing there was Ruben Pedreño, as he seemed to help the Haas driver of Joris Krozen in front of him through the corner and getting a few tags on the rear end, not able to apply the accelerator, or that car will have rotated round. Ruben Pedreño actually dealt with this situation just about as well as he could have. I have no idea how he kept that in a straight line.
Well, some builds of the game, the front wing just disintegrates on you, and that's the end of that. Others, it lives with you for a while, but that was bumper car stuff.
Yeah.
Might as well have put flashing lights on the cars that started that corner, 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th, and found themselves detonating their race effectively with that static wheel locking contact.
Yeah, it just held everyone up there, and that means that they've broken away from the pack out in front, and that's why gaps have started to form between the drivers, with no one really working together and everyone being caught up in that horde down at the first few corners. That's allowed the drivers out in front to kind of break away a little bit. Otis Lawrence with a good amount of breathing room, 9/10, just about back to Thomas Ronhaar in second, and Ronhaar not looking to equal the pace yet of Otis Lawrence on that last tour of the circuit. Lawrence fastest by 0.4 of a second. He's in a league of his own right now.
Yeah, really enjoying having that clear track in front of him and making use of it as we make our way down to Vale Corner. And Otis Lawrence has the advantage. Then it's Ronhaar, Ozelderim, then Freddie Rasmussen, Alvaro Caraton, Alfie Butcher are the last of the point scorers. Fassi, who was our winner earlier on, Krozen, Opmeer, and Klaffenbach, who finds himself in 10th position. The Austrian driver for Mercedes. Looks like it's close to a move in the background there. Jake Benham, Nico Longue didn't want to be scrapping over 16th, but all you can do is make forward progress. They're drifting their way through Abbey Corner, and they're drifting their way through Village Corner. Jake Benham with the move.
Unbelievable move there by Jake Benham, a Tokyo Drift style move, as he seems to be a parking slalom as he just drifted down the middle of two cars. But whatever works for you, Jake, he picked up the move there, gets himself up into 16th past Nico Longue. Let's go on board here with Jake Benham. I'm excited to see this overtake as he positioned the car a little bit sideways. Longue goes wide, sells the dummy to the inside, completely sideways to the apex. How does he get it parked and ready for the apex? I have no idea, but Jake Benham clearly proving why he's one of the best 18 drivers in the world on this game.
That's a lovely move. Touch and feel from Benham, and he's got something to show from a race that has been undone on the opening lap. Ozelderim putting an enormous amount of lock through the corners that are so quick in the dry, Maggots and Beckett's, but really working the wheel through there, leaning on the curb even though we've got wet conditions. Thomas Ronhaar slightly more circumspect through those corners, and you can see he's gaining at that stage. Ronhaar trying to hang on to Lawrence's coattails at this moment.
You were mentioning about the big wheel rotation there by Ulos Ozyodrim. The one thing that he wants to avoid is over-rotating the tyre, because you're removing the surface area of the tyre that's actually touching the surface of the track, therefore basically enabling it to opening yourself to understeer, which is a big issue that Ulas Ozyodrim needs to be careful of if he wants to stay up at the front end here and in a competitive position. Actually only half a second off the back of Thomas Ronhaar right now as he flicks the car through Village and the loop, as he'll get the power down through Aintree and onto the Wellington straight. No DRS enabled, so no help for the overtake. Only Slipstream is going to be at the aid of the drivers. No flashing light on the back of Ulas Ozyodrim's car, so clearly using his power and using the overtake mode to his advantage to try and maintain that gap.
So well poised at the moment on lap 6 of 26. Lawrence, Ronhaar, Ozelderim, Rasmussen and Caraton, the top 5. It is worth saying that Jarno Opmeer is the championship leader, who just joined us for the race today. He was knocked out, a huge shock in Q2, and he finds himself with a lot of work to do, but not with the conditions that he's hoping for. He was hoping for changeable conditions. He's got the wet weather, but it is static at the moment. Notice Lawrence is building a gap of 9/10 of a second out front, trying to undo the damage of a costly tactical battle with Jarno Opmeer earlier on today. We go back in the field, and again, a driver who would have clearly loved to be slightly further up, because Jake Benham clearly has a great feel in these intermediate conditions. Remember, the drivers would not practice anywhere near as much, so you get a greater variation in wet weather conditions. They're doing all of their practice, the majority of it in the dry. That's the majority of the championship held in the dry. A lot of people were talking up the chance of wet weather at Silverstone today, and as a result, it has come to pass as Thomas Ronhaar shows that he's still fighting for this one with the fastest lap of the race, superseded, going down the order all the way to Jake Benham, who absolutely loves the conditions, if not his position in the race. Let's go to turn 3 again, see if he can do the same trick. Not allowed it. How about the outside line? Turned into the inside line. He's going to risk it. Can he get to the wheel banging position? Risking his front wing at the moment. Then it's a traction race, pinching to the very fast apex and on to the Wellington straight with nothing between the two of them. Kai, how's it looking down to Brooklands?
Well, outstanding side-by-side action. Benham can't make a wig that time round, but he'll try the inside into Brooklands as he tries to squeeze his way past John Evans. Evans isn't having any of it as he maintains the inside line. Benham now negotiating with his car to apply that throttle, trying to caress the rear tyres and get them in a straight line and get himself on the accelerator. John Evans now heading into Copse. A lot more committed into the corner is Jake Benham, but that allows Evans to get a better exit. Slow into the corner, fast out there for the Ferrari driver, the McLaren of Jake Benham, trying everything he can to make his way past the car in front. Benham knows he's the fastest car on the circuit. He has the fastest lap under his belt. He's looking left, looking right. Can't quite find the opportunity to get the move done, though. Danny Beresnay, if he's not careful, is going to be brought into this battle as well.
Well, Benham's giving us something to look at the moment. Static gaps out front. Ishmael Fassi over a second off the back of Alfie Butcher. So both McLarens with a decent wet weather setup. You'd be brave if you went to the inside of Vale. I was willing him not to do that for the sake of us running under green flag conditions, and he was wise to wait for the chance. This is where he put the super move on a couple of laps ago. Tellingly, a couple of drivers veering away from the traditional racing line. Remember, these tyres do degrade, the intermediates. You will still find the grip, find the grooves wearing away. The tyre wear model of this fantastic game from EA Sports, meaning the drivers have to consider keeping those tyre temperatures where they need to be, and that means moving away from the traditional racing line. Out front, it's 8/10 of a second. It was Helderim, who was all action using different parts of the racetrack. 4/10 back from Ronhaar. At the moment, Lawrence looking for 25 points to add to his single point scored for pole position, a rule in the Sim Racing Championship.
Well, with the way that it's looking right now, if Otis Lawrence was able to finish in this top spot, those 25 points going his way would actually promote him to the lead of the championship, with Nico Longe and our championship leader at the moment of Jarno Opmeer being much further down the pack. Jarno down in 9th. And for Nico Longe, it's a 17th position run right now, so not ideal at all for either of them. We're on board with Freddie Rasmussen, who was my driver to watch coming into this race. He's been on bad form as of recent, and now looking for anything that he can do to recuperate some time lost and gain some of that advantage back. Some points into the championship would be a great job from the second Red Bull driver in the championship right now. Ulash Yildirim is the sister team in the RB just in front. Thomas Ronhaar from Otis Lawrence still leading the way.
Okay, Otis Lawrence with intermediate tyres on the car and the fastest lap of the race. Klaffenbach showing that it's ebbing and flowing out there, but that's a confidence lap for him because he's trying to chase down the championship leader, no less, at the moment. Everyone matched fairly well last time around. We're not seeing enormous gaps in pace, but the drivers have to keep their chins up and believe that they can make the difference. The tyres are wearing away. No DRS in these conditions and no change expected in the conditions. So the drivers got to solve this problem themselves. They've got to find a way to get around. They've got to force the drivers off the racing line. One of the things I loved about Barcelona earlier on is that no one was even trying to move into turn 1. They were all waiting for late braking moves, sizing it up at 4, making the late lunge at 5. We saw a wonderful move from Ismail Fassi, which gave him the half chance. Drivers are looking to try and give themselves any opportunity for late drama. Otis Lawrence not interested in any drama, wants to check out, wants to win the race.
Well, we had a lot of strategy talk coming into this one, didn't we, Alex? But strategy completely goes out the window with the intermediate tyre running and it looking to stay wet throughout the whole race. You can start to see that dry line starting to form from the cars, so dispersing the standard water on the circuit, and that is why we're seeing the times tumble as we make our way into the 140s. And you're watching these drivers go down the main straight and down the straights as well. You may be thinking, why are they making their way off the racing line? Well, what these drivers will be doing is making their way onto the wet surface on purpose to cool down their tyres, lower the surface temperature. And oh, Jake Benham getting in a little bit of action as he trades blows with John Evans through the final couple of corners and onto the main straight after club. Through the Hamilton straight now, Jake Benham just trying to make his way through where he can, picking up the water and cooling down his tyres to slow down the degradation, meaning that these intermediates can last a bit longer.
I think for Jake Benham, all he wants to really do is try and slap some overtakes on those in front. He knows the chance of points, the honest chance of points is gone unless he gets those changeable conditions and go for a slick gamble, which sometimes we see. But they are all very wary of the wear. Peeling from the racing line on the Wellington straight, it does make a difference. It is vital that they do that if they're maintaining it. Who goes early here? Who gambles on just getting the grooves, the new tyres, and all the benefits that come with them? And Ronha has found himself 1.5 seconds back. Otis Lawrence with a devastating couple of laps now. 1.5 seconds in sim racing is enormous.
Yeah, especially in wet conditions where it's difficult to overtake when you're on the rear end of another driver. But 1.5 seconds, unless there's a big mistake from Otis Lawrence, that gap is going to be difficult to claw back down. In response to your question, Alex, I don't think Otis Lawrence will be the first to pull the trigger on that decision. I think he will wait until other drivers peel into the pit lane and get that information from his pit wall. Ulash Ozyildrim, on the other hand, he doesn't have as much to lose. He's in third position right now with a decent sizable gap to Thomas Ronhart and Otis Lawrence in front. But Otis Lawrence, if he keeps banging in these lap times, there is no reason for him to peel off these tyres anytime soon.
Lawrence, Ronhart, Ozyildrim, our podium finishers at the moment. Rasmussen waiting for the round of pit stops that will be coming our way. Alvaro Carreton maintaining a superb 5th place that he secured in qualifying. The driver who, in the field, has spent the longest time with one team. That team is Williams. Ismail Fassi trying to catch up to Alvaro and Alfie Butcher in between. Fassi delighted, emotional, tears of joy to win his home event last time with that spectacular last lap pass for the lead and the victory that came with it in Barcelona.
Yeah, anything can still happen here. Not even at half race distance. Lap 11 of 26 is what we find ourselves on right now. Otis Lawrence leading the way by 1.8 seconds from Thomas Ronhart. Let's get a bit of a replay here on board with Jake Benham. Benham always finds himself in the heat of the action, although he's a little bit further down the order. He's spicing it up with some dives as he looked for the move down into Village. A little bit of argy-bargy action between him and John Evans as they rub wheels into the apex. A bit of a touch and go move there from Jake Benham, wasn't it?
Gave it a go. What are you going to do if you're in 16th place? You're going to send it, and he did so. Benham getting by, Evans having to make room. I don't think he'd have been delighted with some of the treatment dished out there. But he's going to have a chance to try and come back. He's going to see if Benham can make fast progress on Danny Berezne. Getting the live view that the driver is using at the moment. Changing the angle all the time to see who's behind. And we're getting larger gaps than normal because of the conditions. Very, very strange to see a 1.9 second lead for the leader, but that's what we've got at the moment. And Otis Lawrence devastatingly quick around here. Right, Village corner, Jake Benham, a one-man highlights reel at the moment. Can he carry it on? Around the outside, squeeze him all you like, it's turning into the inside line. Can they get it slowed down? No choice but for Danny Berezne to open the door. There's another place for Jake Benham, who's having a lot of fun, but all of it in the wrong part of the order.
Yeah, even for the veteran of Danny Berezny, nothing that he could have done to keep Jake Benham behind it. Those 555 career points are not going to stop the McLaren driver from making his way past you. And Jake Benham, although it may be a slower race in terms of overtakes, Benham's keeping us entertained. Every single opportunity he has to dive it down the inside, he's throwing that McLaren on the inside line with no regards to any consequences. It's working out in his favour, though. Jake Benham now finds himself in 14th, and Otis Lawrence extending the gap out to near 2 seconds.
Jake Benham is going to win the commentary box prize for giving us something to talk about.
Yeah, 100%.
At the end of this race, because great overtaking moves, lots for us to enjoy, but we have a totally different picture to normal. The gaps have extended. We're not getting the DRS that we would normally get as well. We are on static intermediate conditions. As a result, some of the drivers will be thinking about preserving their position. Alvaro Carreton, I think, would be delighted with 5th place. There'll be others in the mix who are going to need something to happen with the pit stops. There will be a different approach, and here comes the first pit stop. John Evans deciding to come in for new tyres as we hit halfway.
Jake Benham is absolutely flying out there on these intermediate tyres. If it wasn't for the first lap incident and also his qualifying position, Jake Benham would be dominating out in front. It was a 39.022. For reference, Otis Lawrence out in front did a 140.134. That's a whole second a lap faster than our race leader at the moment. And our race leader of Otis Lawrence has not put in any slow times on the boards by any means, but Jake Benham is in a league of his own, and I don't think an investigation is what he would have been hoping for news. But it's understandable after the overtake that we saw. There was a lot of contact between Jake Benham and John Evans when that overtake took place, so understandably the stewards will have a look at that one.
Freddie Rasmussen finds himself in 4th. Alvaro Carreton is in 5th place, but Rasmussen beginning to put a bit of pressure on Zelderim at the moment. You're further back in the pack with the picture that you're looking at the moment, and you are seeing plenty going on with Manley, with Gow, with Benham right in there. And to be honest, I'm not sure he'll care about the penalty. I'm not sure he'll care about his position. He is having a storming drive with Flair behind the wheel. He might expect something to come his way. Normally, a penalty just ends any opportunity. Got so many gaps here. He will just stay on track. He has no need to take on new tyres at the moment because he's going so very quickly. Intriguingly, now into the pits comes Tom Manley, and Ruben Pedreno is also in as well.
Yeah, a switch to the McLaren colours for Jake Benham this season. After 3 tours of the championship in Mercedes colours, he thought it was time for a new livery, and papaya was what he chose. Jake Benham putting on a show for everyone at McLaren and also everyone at home. Not some bad results to keep under his belt as well. 3 podiums to his name, 1 fastest lap, 118 career points. Unfortunately, just being outside of the points right now, and with a possible penalty looming, I would be sceptical to see any points come his way, but who knows, anything can happen, especially with the pace that Jake Benham is putting down right now.
Let's take you through the positions gained and lost. You're looking at that on the left-hand side. Duncan Hoffland had some opening lap.
Yeah.
I know he had a gaggle of cars basically glued together on the entrance to the Wellington Straight, but he still took advantage, placed the car really nicely, got himself up 7 positions. It's now up to 7 because we've had some of the stops as well, but he made good use of it on the brink of the points at the moment. 1.5 seconds is the gap for Otis Lawrence. The Welshman is leading the way. Let's go on board with Joris Krozen, who's got multiple points finishes so far this year. He's sizing up our most recent race winner at the front of the field. Krozen having a really horrible qualifying earlier on. It had gone well in the previous 4 races. He'd scored in all of them with a personal best of 5th, which he did in Bahrain, where there were plenty of shenanigans as well, and China at the start of the year in addition.
A couple more drivers peeling off into the pit lane there. As we see, into the pits goes Tamas Gow and Jake Benham. Benham clearly feels that he's got the most he can out of these intermediate tyres, but leading us into the pit lane is going to be Tamas Gow. Let's see where he is going to re-emerge onto the circuit. Otis Lawrence, though, not seemingly getting the most out of the tyres right now. Thomas Ron has managed to turn the tables and start to cut down on that deficit to Otis Lawrence out in front. So Lawrence maybe needs to start considering a fresh set of intermediates on his car.
Yeah, got the gap at this stage. Fastest lap from John Evans tells a story. Remember, he was the first one to come in for new Pirelli rubber on the intermediate tyre.
Yeah, 2 seconds faster than the drivers on the old intermediate tyres as well. Straight out of the pit lane, and Tamas Gao is into a bit of a battle with Ruben Pedreño. Pedreño was on the outside there. Gao trying to hold it on the inside. Benham managing to sneak through as well. Of course, Jake Benham finds himself on an overtaking position as he makes his way past Tamas Gao. Gao down into 18th after those pit stops, and Jake Benham sizing up Pedreño on the inside there. That's going to be a brave move into Brooklyn. Sideways goes Pedreño. Just about keeps it in a straight line. Gao tries to sneak through as well on the outside, but can he do it as they plant their foot onto the Wellington straight? No, it's not going to be enough there for Ruben Pedreño. He'll get his way back through. Tamas Gao in 17th, and Jake Benham takes the back seat.
Rasmussen has made the move. Decisive exploration of tyre grip is going on right now. A 2-second lead has turned into a 1-second lead for Otis Lawrence and Thomas Ronhaar. Freddie Rasmussen has got past Zelderim, and knowledge of how to manipulate the inters is key here, because we are seeing the pendulum swing. If you can keep a consistent time, like a 1:39.8 for Freddie Rasmussen, you are in the mix here. Our race leader's doing a 40.3. John Evans is doing a 48.2. So you've got different stories there. You've got all of the experience of the Red Bull man. You've got all of the new tyre grip for John Evans in the Ferrari, who went first to the rubber, and then you've just got Jake Benham sending moves left, right and centre.
Jake Benham causing havoc and getting some great moves in at the same time. Once again, a bit of a rash move there on Ruben Pedreño. Put himself on the wet part of the circuit and just could not find any traction there through Luffield and onto Woodcote. The positions were already lost at that position. Pedreño would have been a heart-in-the-mouth moment here as he once again almost found himself completely turned around. 3 wide here from Luffield, and once it got to Woodcote, it was all sorted out and into the order. Pedreño managed to get back into 16th position. Gao 17th, 18th went the way of Benham. Bit of a mistake there on the exit of Maggots and Beckett's. Ulasher Zildjian got a little bit out of shape, and that opened up the move for Freddie Rasmussen. Down the back straight through Hanger Straight and into Stowe. There was no questions looming around it.
Take you back to live pictures. The 2-second gap has come down to 0.7 of a second. How much longer will Alpine keep Otis Lawrence out? Will they feel a need to respond? Not this time around. They're trying to eke all of the grip out of the tyres. All the while, do you want to give track position to Freddie Rasmussen? He's attacking clear air right now with 3 seconds to make up to the race leader.
I think Otis Lawrence really needs to dive into the pit lane and pit sooner rather than later, because the drivers behind him, although they're on the exact same set of intermediate tyres and have done the exact same distance, there is a huge place split between these drivers, and Otis Lawrence out in front maybe pushed a little bit too soon on his intermediates, took a little bit too much life out of them in the early stages, which is where we saw him assert that 2-second gap. However, he's not been able to maintain that pace all the way throughout this stint. With us now being 17 laps into the race, should he pull into the pit lane? Answer is probably yes.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if they pushed it any further. He's responded on this lap with a couple of sectors. The worry would not be Ronhaar closing in for me. The worry would be Freddie Rasmussen and his knowledge. A repeat winner around this circuit, a driver who always has had great core ability from the get-go. Remember, they don't practice as much, but he is a veteran and he knows this track so well. This is a big risk. Can Rasmussen bring it into a 3-car battle for the lead? That's his task.
Yeah, and he'll try his best to do so, but pit lane has to be green for these drivers sometime soon. I would expect Thomas Ronhaar to respond to Otis Lawrence by copying whatever move he does. Does he stay out? Does he go in? That is the question. Out in front, we'll keep an eye on the pit lanes right here. No one seeming to dive in.
No one diving in at the moment. So everyone's marking each other off. Everyone's trying to go as long as possible to give themselves an understanding of the conditions, see if anything changes, give yourself the widest possible window to respond. It means that we have an absolutely extraordinary situation where Otis Lawrence did a 1:40.2 and the driver in 15th place, Jake Benham, did a 1:38.0. Enormous gaps between the times. Benham was cleared for the wheel-banging move that he made on Evans earlier on, by the way.
Well, that is very clear. Well, never mind a 138.2, 137.818, says Jake Benham.
That is madness, isn't it? Manley had the fastest lap. Benham takes it back immediately. Half a second for the lead. The fastest driver got involved in a mid-pack skirmish, which has meant that he's P15 rather than fighting in the mix. This was a time trial. He'd be absolutely delighted with what he had underneath him. At the moment, he's still trying to get everyone out the way. Manley going nicely as well in 14th. Remember, Evans went early for the rubber, so it could expire on him. And this looked like a one race for Otis Lawrence. It looked like victory was assured. Up against Thomas Ronhaar, who has bided his time. Freddie Rasmussen still with good core pace as well, although the best of his tyre performance appears to have expired. And we have a battle for the win once again, with Thomas Ronhaar desperate to climb onto the podium for the first time this season and try and return to the top step.
Well, it's been quite a while since we had a wet race here in the F1 Sim Racing Championship, and experience seems to power through in these wet conditions. The last time that we had a wet race would have been Brazil in the 2025 season. That was in the damp conditions where Jarno Opmeer seemed to dominate out in front. Maybe that's why he was so happy for a wet race here in Silverstone. Maybe that's why he was asking for it in his interview with Nina J. Paul earlier on.
On board with Ronhaar with an opportunity, was really gutted to miss out on pole position earlier on. You can understand that when you've not been on the podium all year long, and yet the 2-second gap has expired. We are now back into one mistake territory. Jake Benham, fastest lap. Be prepared to see that graphic time and time again. He, but for a different first lap, would be having a very different race. He has been a fantastic subplot, but at the moment, he's still mired down in 15th, albeit with a lot of drivers still to stop.
Yeah, out in front, though, Thomas Ronhaar starting to size up Otis Lawrence for what has probably been the first time in this race since the opening stages in the first couple of laps, as Ronhaar now has the pace deficit in his advantage, using all the wet straight he can to try and maintain these tyres, cool the carcass, cool the surface temperature of the tyres, minimize degradation as well. That means that you can make these intermediate tyres go as long as you want. That glossy surface on the track is going to be favoured for the drivers until you hit the braking zones and the turning areas right here, which Otis Lawrence still leads the way. Only 6 laps to go and still out on the circuit.
Carrying on with the compounds, and they find themselves with expiring tyres. They continue on, and Thomas Ronhaar ever closer. These tactics to come in for the new rubber not being replicated, everyone just favouring track position. And we find ourselves on lap 20 of 26. Lawrence, Ronhaar, Rasmussen, Elzelderim, and Caraton, the top 5.
Well, I have just came across a very interesting point here. You may be wondering why these drivers are extending out their stint so long. We've only had a few drivers actually pull into the pit lane, and that is because here in the F1 Sim Racing Championship, if it is a wet weather race, drivers are not required to come into the pit lane. So Otis Lawrence and the drivers out in front will be trying to extend these intermediates as much as they can to the end of the race. 26 laps on a pair of intermediate tyres. It's going to be a struggle, but that seems to be the strategy at the moment.
Yeah, it's a compound rule, isn't it? That you have to use 2 different compounds. It's not a mandatory stop rule. In the past, because we've seen changing conditions from intermediate to dry, it would necessitate a stop, but we've had consistent conditions, quite unusual. You'll remember before the race, Jarno Opmeer was hoping for changing conditions, but it's been consistently into territory. As a result, those out front just trying to hang on to track position. The 2-second race has been turned into a half a second race. Freddie Rasmussen has run out of tyre grip, and they're surviving on what they've got. Those who were further back, rolling the dice, going for the new rubber, and it's a static race. How long could these inters go? Would there be the cliff drop-off, which we saw in days of old, but haven't seen for a long time?
Well, 6 more laps, you start to find yourself in puncture territory, and drivers need to be very, very careful of that, especially Otis Lawrence, who seems to have burned out the majority of the grip in those intermediate tyres in the early stages when he was asserting himself a gap over Ron Haar in second. Ron Haar now with the grip advantage over the Alpine driver in the lead. So Otis Lawrence just needs to nurture these tyres all the way towards the end of this race if he wants to make it work out, because inevitably a pit stop at such a late point in this race would put you completely out of a point scoring opportunity.
It's a very, very low level of loss at Silverstone, and the intermediate tyres do degrade. Such is the difference that we're seeing on the racetrack, where Tom Manley's in the 37s, Jake Benham's in the 37s, and the race leader remains static in the 140s. Freddie Rasmussen, last time around, encouraging lap time for him. Potentially game-changing lap time for him. It looked as if he'd lost the ability to access the 139s. He switched it back on again.
I know, as soon as you mentioned that Freddie Rasmussen had run out of pace and ran out of grip, he responds with a new personal best of a 139.7, which is half a second a lap quicker than the drivers in front of him. That 2-second gap that he had to Ron Haar has now been pulled down very, very drastically to 1.6 at the moment. We're on board with Julian Klaffenbach, who's looking down the rear end of Jarno Opmeer, our last winner in a wet weather race in the F1 Sim Racing Championship last year, once again at the Brazil circuit. Jarno Opmeer just trying to size up a move on Joris Krozen, but it's not going to be easy at all, as Julian Klaffenbach is just watching everything unfold in front of him. In the background, though, move down the inside from John Evans as he tries to get the staple done on Nico Longe. Nothing Longe can do, and following through as well. Here comes Manley. Manley's going to get the move done as well. So Nico Longe, a bad race, just turning worse as he loses 2 positions in 1 corner.
Let's see whether we're going to get a pass to the inside. Jarno Opmeer trying to go around the outside, trying to pinch to the apex, risking it. Intermediate tyre to intermediate tyre. The correction as he applies the power now. Squirming all over the road. The driver in 9th place, trying to improve, trying to limit the damage. Still, Otis Lawrence, one of his rivals for the title, is ahead on the racetrack. It's that 22 of 26, and we find ourselves with those at the back with the pace and the new rubber. The highest driver to make a pit stop is John Evans in P12 of this contest.
Yeah, clearly showing that the no pit stop strategy is very much being favoured by all of the drivers here. I mean, they're experienced enough, they put enough hours into this game to be able to nurture a tyre 26 laps and make sure that it lasts to the end of this race and still have the pace to be able to compete with your competitors on the circuit, which is a completely unique skill in its own. It's one thing to be very fast on the game and be able to put down these fast lap times, but to be able to do that consistently whilst maintaining tyres is a completely different ball game.
Here we go, out on the circuit, and it's getting tighter and tighter. Just looking elsewhere, very, very close for Klaffenbach into the back of Jarno Opmeer. I'd love to have another look at whether there was actually contact between the drivers in 9th and 10th, because it looked very, very close between the two of them at one stage. The timing coming down to basically nothing. So we'll see whether the championship leader was at risk. We saw what minor contact could do back in the Saudi race. And it's 23 of 26. Lawrence, Ron Haar and Rasmussen, the top 3.
John Evans down the inside once again, gets a little bit of a nudge there from Manley as he tries to go for the move on Hofland. Can't get it done this time round with a little bit of Constantina effect not working out in his favour for John Evans. Jake Benham also trying to get involved, getting spat off the road there is Nico Longe as he will re-emerge into your picture. Squeezed onto the grass in the background as well is Thomas Gow as they're all going side by side. Everything's now kicking off in the dying embers of this race. Tries on the inside. Manley is going to look for the move. Holding strong is John Evans. No idea how that car didn't get rotated there, but Evans still in a good position to get this move done on the Aston Martin driver in front of him with the tyre advantage, with a huge tyre advantage that John Evans has right now. You would expect him to carve through the pack like butter, and a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings given the way of Tom Manley.
We can sometimes see in-game penalties and they get reconsidered, but that's the information that we've got at the moment. And we find ourselves with 0.4 of a second out front, and then we have an absolute brawl going on for the places in the middle of the pack. So this is old rubber meeting new rubber, and everyone 4 to go at the pace. Can John Evans get himself with that tyre gamble through the field? Once again, it looks like Jake Benham's close to losing his front wing.
A huge dive bomb there from Ruben Pedreño as he clatters into the side of multiple cars. Jake Benham eventually making his way back through as Pedreño has absolutely no momentum there through the final couple of corners of Club, and Vale manages to recuperate himself in 16th right now, on board with Benham as he dives it down the inside of Manley. At the same time, let's have a replay on board with Ruben Pedreño of this dive bomb into Club, and Vale tries it down the inside, into the side of Manley, into the back of what was John Evans as well. Seemed to be a little bit of debris kicked off Tom Manley there as his front wing seemingly taken a hit.
Sometimes you look at the drivers and you think, well, that's remarkable, I couldn't do that. I could definitely drive like that into Vale. That was not ideal, but neither are the conditions, and it's been a long event. Tom Manley's with the black and white warning flag to denote a penalty. Can Otis Lawrence hang on? We're into the latter stages, and look who's turned it in to a 3-car battle out front. He was electing to stay on a pace that he knew would bring it into the final moments of this race with a chance to win. Jake Benham's up to 13th place. He's having fun once again. Can he get past John Evans? Wait, we've said that before, earlier in the race. Otis Lawrence, Thomas Ronhaar, Freddie Rasmussen, our 3 cars on the podium, our 3 cars going for the victory. And take nothing for granted, given what we saw earlier on. We're on the penultimate tour of Silverstone Circuit.
Jake Benham absolutely loving the ice skating around the Silverstone circuit right now. And Freddie Rasmussen, you can never count this man out. At one time, it looks like the top 2 had just disappeared from the man in the Red Bull livery. But fast Freddie Rasmussen once again finds himself in contention for a race victory here. If he plays his cards right, he could find himself past Thomas Ronhaar. And then at that stage, there's only one more man in the way. So be it. It's Otis Lawrence.
We'll see. We will see whether there's an opportunity. We've seen late moves for the win in the past at Stowe Corner here. Has Freddie Rasmussen got enough to do it without the use of DRS, to do it old school in the wet weather at Silverstone? That's the aim for him here. Now, Zeldarim currently is on for a fine 4th place, but he's not part of this battle. And yet we saw on the last lap things can directly change. We've got Carroton a long way off the back as well. Right, skirmish time, heading to Abbey Corner. This is, really big contact, sustained contact for Benham, trying to fight his way through.
Damage, and we think we should be okay to continue. It's going to cost us a little bit of time, but we're nearly at the end of the race.
Yeah, a little bit of damage, and Beresnay able to shuffle his way past. Back to live pictures, back to the battle for the lead. We're heading to the last lap. Who's your money on Kai Pacini?
Oh, well, I said before the race, Freddie Rasmussen, and I'm not going to back out from it just yet. Rasmussen is peering down the rear end of this Mercedes with some vengeance. Freddie Rasmussen is on a mission to find the pace that he said he'd lost earlier on in this event. Can he round that out with 1 or 2 more places gained? We'll have to find out in these closing stages. That damage there for Jake Benham is really going to hinder his performance as he drops down to 15th now. It was 13th just moments ago, but up at the top 3, all strung together, and who knows what's going to happen here. All it takes is one mistake from Lawrence, one mistake from Ronhaar, one mistake from Rasmussen, and everything changes.
So down the Wellington straight we go to Brooklands Corner. Rasmussen trying to improve from 3rd to 2nd. Lawrence will be believing that he can convert a race-long lead into victory, something that got away from him before. Has Ronhaar got anything in store for the final corners of the last lap? It looks, if anything, that Rasmussen is closer, and the timing page will tell you that as well. It is fine margins for the rest of the places in the points. Jarno Opmeer not able to make any progress from 9th place. And so Thomas Ronhaar, how much risk is he prepared to take through Maggots and Beckett's? All over the curb, but he's not the only one taking risk. drain all the battery you've got on the hangar straight in a few moments' time. They did not elect to take a pit stop. They stayed out there. They don't have the fastest rubber, but they are the top three, and they're all in formation. You can see Otis Lawrence feeling the need to peel away to try and break the slipstream. He's a couple of breaking points away from taking the win. Lawrence, Ronhaar and Rasmussen, the podium finishers, virtually together. And that's not been a wet race where you can say that too often. Very defensive for Thomas Ronhaar. Can Rasmussen beat him to a drag race? No, he can't. Across the line comes Otis Lawrence to win for the second time this season. He takes the win that eluded him earlier on today. Thomas Ronhaar with a season's best second position, and Freddie Rasmussen completes the podium, denied second place by 1/10 of a second. And then it's Elzelderim who finds himself in fourth place. Then it's Caraton in fifth. The points are completed by Butcher, Fassi, Crozen, Jarno Opmeer in P9, and Klaffenbach following across the line. Otis Lawrence with 26 points from Silverstone circuit, 1 point for pole, 25 for the win.
For one moment there, I thought Ronhaar was going to have to pay the price for going defensive into the final few corners, and now the celebrations can ensue for the Alpine team. You can see the emotions, not just from Otis Lawrence, but also from the race engineers, who are clearly shook by that strategy call and also by that race. Otis Lawrence dominant from start to finish. Thomas Ronhaar played the game the best he could. He tried to regain that gap, recuperated some of the time to catch back onto Otis Lawrence, but nothing he could have done. Otis Lawrence, I think one of the most calm celebrations we've seen so far.
You knew that it was going to be a revealing day when it came to the outcome. Was Otis Lawrence going to have a race fueled in the right way? Was he going to deliver? He answered it. A strong win. He is all smiles. 4 career victories and the new driver to beat as he finds himself at the head of the field. Alpine delighted. Jarno Opmeer in ninth, and that is a great scene to see.
Well, Otis Lawrence, with that outstanding result, but he's also embraced by Josh Ido, who walked away with a P2 result in Barcelona after he stepped in for Danny Beresnay in that car. What a weekend it's been for the Alpine sim racing team. They've done an outstanding job, and it looks like Otis Lawrence now becoming one of the youngest drivers to lead the championship. Obviously, the youngest being David Tanitsa, who was leading the championship in 2019 at just the age of 17, and not a few months after that, Otis Lawrence now finds himself in the lead of the World Championship. What a great job here by Otis Lawrence, and clearly proving his points.
Thomas Ronhaar starting the debrief, but he's got a podium to show for a very, very strong day's work. He needed that to try and turn the page on a really tough start to the season. Otis Lawrence, very, very impressive. Oh, Tonzilla. Lovely reference to David Tanitsa, a former champion. That is where Otis Lawrence aspires to finish at the end of the year. The driver who has worn his heart on his sleeve since he joined this championship last year, now with Alpine, the new driver to beat at the head of the field. Lawrence, Ronhaar, Rasmussen, your podium finishers.
Unbelievable race there, and Thomas Ronhaar there just having a little bit of a debrief with the Mercedes team. It was 0.8 of a second in the end that separated the top two. At a few moments, it looks like Thomas Ronhaar had a couple opportunities to go for the move, but didn't want to risk anything, didn't want to risk his own race, because at the end of the day, 18 points is still a great result for Ronhaar. And is this the return to form that we'd expect from this man right here?
Yeah. The end of the season last year did not go to plan, did not go how he wanted, and neither is the start of this one, but he will be hoping to score wins as a result, but he will build on as we go through with the remaining races. We'll be racing at Spa, at Zandvoort, we'll be moving on to Austin, and then it will be Mexico City, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi to finish off this championship. Those are the races still up for grabs across 4 days of competition to still come after the end of today's event. But Otis Lawrence is absolutely buzzing, and you have to celebrate the good days, because in the previous race, it all slipped through his fingers.
Yeah, he had made a few mistakes here and there, and obviously that incident in Barcelona didn't go in his favour. Otis Lawrence, a 10-second penalty being awarded his way off the back of that for brake checking, quote-unquote, his opponents. Let's have a look across the line here. This was our finishing order, and the finishing reaction from Otis Lawrence. No loud screams, clap of the hands, and just clear elation there from the youngster out in front. Goes over, embraces the team, and Alpine, this is what it's all about. It's a family, it's a team, and they all work together for these exact results.
Indeed, and congratulations all round. Happiness for the Mercedes crew to have a podium representative in Thomas Ronhart, and we will hopefully hear from everyone once they're lined up. And they are lined up right now, as if by television magic. We're going to send you in the direction of Freddie Rasmussen, Thomas Ronhart, and first of all, Nina. Over to you.
Well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. A Q1 exit yesterday and your best result of the season today, P2. How much does this mean to you and the team?
Yeah, it's definitely a good end to the event. Definitely needed also for not only myself but for the team also. We've been really unlucky this season, let's say. We've been in many downs. There's a few ups, obviously with Julian doing quite well in some qualifyings, but yeah, the results were not what we wanted. But yeah, I guess today we showed what we could do also in the rain. I think it was us four, and then there was, I don't know how big of a gap behind, but yeah, I think they were just playing it safe. I was pretty much going flat out the last 5 laps to even get close to Otis, but yeah, has to have taken me drove really well. But yeah, I think just reading the race, I think P2 was the maximum we could have done today. So yeah, really pleased.
Yeah, you had great pace in that race. Was a win possible today?
It's very minimal, the chance. If Otis made a few mistakes, then maybe, but yeah, it was just maintaining the gap. And with the dirty air, this game is quite tough to even get a chance of overtaking. I'm sure with Freddie, he tried in the last few laps as well, but yeah, just it's really hard.
Well, there's definitely a positive result. How do you carry this momentum forward now to the next event?
I think we prepared a lot better than event 1. I think event 1 was a big struggle, but I think event 2 we at least today showed what we were able of doing. Luckily finding the form I had the last 3 years, finding my mojo again hopefully for the coming 2 events. But yeah, like I said, nothing is impossible. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the next 2 events.
Freddie, your third position this event, but more importantly, your 6th podium at Silverstone. You mentioned you've been off the pace a little to your own standard, but are you happy with the result?
I'm not happy with qualifying, but the race we did the maximum we could.
So your zero-stop strategy, was that something that was pre-planned, or did you decide that during the race when you saw the rain?
We planned it in advance. We do a lot of testing, so we knew exactly what to do.
Same question to you, Thomas. The zero-stop strategy.
I think I echo what Freddie said. We know what to do. We prepare as much as possible, and it was quite weird seeing it was just gonna be heavy rain throughout the whole race. It was never a case of the rain was slowing down, or it was nearly full wet conditions the whole race. It was pretty much just looking at the data throughout the race. If it's actually gonna be a bit dry towards the end to even think of a one stop, but yeah, when you can finish on 80% tire wear or below, it's, for me at least, a no-brainer to continue.
Freddie, what's your focus now between event 2 and event 3?
It's the same, just putting in the work, and hopefully I can get some more pace.
Well, best of luck, both of you. Congratulations, both of you, on the podium position.
Here we are then. Let's get those classification of what was a very wet Silverstone race. As you see, photographer right in the middle there with the Red Bull guys taking those last moments of what was a sensational event 2. That's the best way I can describe it for this man right here. 3 poles going into this race and getting that finally, that win there. Otis Lawrence, congratulations. How are we feeling after that?
Feeling amazing, to be honest. 4th win in my career. It feels great. I've got so much momentum. My team is just fantastic. After such an awful start today with the incident, it's just so good to bounce back like this. It's truly why you should never give up. You have to keep pushing, and I'm so happy today to end the event in such a strong way. I think leading the championship now, so yeah, the team's fantastic. The guys did an amazing job on the strategy, and hopefully we can come back stronger, even stronger the next event.
Yeah, I mean, your qualifying pace was just exceptional today. The celebrations that we've seen from you, there was some dancing going on, and then your celebration of crossing the line, getting your 4th win, as you said, the most reserved win celebration we've seen. Is that just for the tiredness of the long day?
Well, yeah, I think I think it's mainly because of that. I've shouted too much in the last 2 days, I think. So, I don't think I'll come back with a voice, to be honest. But I'm just so happy. I'm so tired. I can't wait to rest up, take a few days off, and then get back swinging on the F1 game and start grinding.
I mean, Alex, Kai, Otis basically said to me, like, I don't mind just pushing the pillows up here, just have a little kit. Let's get the provisional classification of that race around Silverstone. And we were all thinking, is this going to be one stop or no stop? We were treated right there, 26 points for Otis Lawrence, picking up a point for pole position as well. Thomas Ronhart returned the form maybe for him and Freddie Rasmussen. They're already looking ahead to event 3 and what they can do. But there you have it. Alvaro Carreton steps in for the team Williams, taking the place of Istvan Pukki and delivering some points for Williams as Nico Longe. You don't like to see that after a successful weekend and event 1 for him. But there you go. Alex Jakes, Kai Bacchini, we're done and dusted for event 2. And in terms of highlights, though, from that race, what stood out for you guys?
Well, it was very interesting to see how Jake Benham's car was able to finish in one piece, because he was sending it. So, Otis, you have no idea of the race that we watched. So we had you out front, and then we had Jake Benham as a one-man highlights reel. This was on the opening lap, and the mess that they got themselves into. Wheels locked, drivers stopped, and Duncan Hoffman was able to absolutely cream through at this point. There he goes, past absolutely everyone. Really, really race ruinous for Benham, and then he just decided to put on a show with overtake after overtake. This is going on whilst you were leading.
Yeah, it virtually worked out to a car park through Village as everyone was trying to fight their way through the field. Jake Benham, every single time we had a replay come on the screen, it seemed to be an onboard of a papaya car, and we knew exactly who it was going to be. Jake Benham making the most of being down the rear end of the field, making the most of his pace that he had within the car, as well as you mentioned, a one-man highlight reel right here. I don't think we've came off board of the McLaren driver as a little bit argy-bargy. I think you described it as dodgems at some point through the race, Alex, but either way, out in front, it was a different story as Freddie Rasmussen eventually unleashed his pace in the second half of the race, and that's where we saw him creep up to the back of our leading 2 drivers.
It was fascinating for me to watch and listen to you guys, because Jake Benham decided, you know what, let's make this entertaining. If there's not much happening at the front, I'll put on a performance. John Evans as well, when he pitted and had those fresher tyres, and he started to move, and you thought, what's possible for these guys as we watch? I mean, it really was dodgems, wasn't it, at times? And you saw none of this, Otis.
Well, I did see Danny on the left side of me having head loss next to me. So I was wondering what was happening, but this is crazy.
This isn't what we expected, and the fact that Jarno was hoping for rain to maybe change things up for his fortunes, but crazy stuff. F1 Sim Racing always delivers. Might not be the cleanest of racing sometimes, but for the entertainment value alone, exceptional.
See, banger racing that's cleaner than this, if I'm honest. It's take a load of talented drivers who are really frustrated and have loads of grip. That's roughly what it's going to look like, and that's the moment that Otis secured victory. Big celebrations for Alpine, big day, big turnaround. Otis, how important was the mindset to just put Barcelona out of mind with the P1? Was that your first thought when you left the arena?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very hard to get yourself out of that mindset. I was really angry at the time. It was really frustrating, and I missed out on so much good points as well, and really frustrating. But I just had to focus on the next race. That was the main goal, and just winning the race is just such a special feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the energy that you have brought with the whole Alpine team, how are you going to approach going towards event 3? Is there some days off for you where you can rest a little bit?
Well, yeah, I'm going to take a few days off after this. You know, you have to have a break sometimes as well because we spend so much time driving. But yeah, after those few days, absolute maximum trying to grind. You know, I'm in for this championship. I want it so badly. So, yeah, we'll see. Let's hope we can get it.
And we've noticed it as well, like I wouldn't say heartbreak, but you can definitely see the emotions on your face when things don't go to plan. When you had a pole position, you didn't get that win around Jeddah. How are you managing? Because it's a new experience compared to last season for you. You really are in with a shout of being a champion.
Yeah, it's really hard, you know. Sometimes, you know, when results don't go well, it's really like frustrating and it's really sad, you know. When you put so much time and so much effort into driving and trying to do well and it doesn't go well, it's the worst feeling ever. But as I get more experienced, you know, I notice these days are good days because you can really learn from them and push yourself to rectify those mistakes and do better results in the next few races.
Can we just talk about your teammate earlier on today in Barcelona, Josh Ido, a return to a podium, the first time since 2022 season. How important is that for him as an F1 sim racing driver?
Oh, he's an amazing guy. I'm so happy for him, especially my Welsh companion. I'm so happy for him. He's just such an amazing driver. He did such a good job today. You know, I'm really happy for him. You know, as I said, you know, he's the best, man. He's the best teammate. So is Danny as well. He's a really good guy. He deserves everything that he's achieved. And I'm super happy to see him finish in P2.
The best people in the business working graphics here at Formula One Media and Technology Centre. This is the first time you're going to see your name at the top of the driver standards. I just want this lovely moment. What does that mean to you to see yourself right at the top there, Otis?
Feels good. Got to try and keep it like that.
Yeah, it's not over yet. As I just move slightly aside, we're going to get all of the team in right now. Jana, it's been a proper ding-dong battle. Words have been exchanged between the two of you. You obviously refer to him as the GOAT. What's it like trying to compete with Jana Watmir, Otis?
He's such an amazing driver. Like, he's so complete as a driver. He's always there no matter what. You never can count him out. Even if he sometimes never seems to have the pace, he's always up there no matter what. And he's such a fantastic driver, and it's such an honor to compete against him because back in the day, I used to actually want him to win. And it's so surreal to me to race him. As much as I wasn't happy with him earlier, you know, it's never personal. It's only on track. And yeah, it's just fantastic to race him.
Well, it's great to hear that. I'm just going to put this divider just between there. Look at that.
Sorry, Tom, do I...
No. Yeah, there is a distance. That is the...
I have been running up and down.
Lina,
Yes.
what a 2 days it's been and getting to see Otis in action. What was the vibe like there afterwards with Thomas and Freddie?
Well, firstly, can I just confirm, Otis, that they told you that I picked you to win today?
Oh, here we go. I knew it was.
Well, I'm sorry. Did they tell you?
Nope.
Guys.
I know, sorry.
I knew you wouldn't. Anyway.
Receipts were kept.
Exactly. Roll the tapes. No, I'm really happy for you. The atmosphere down there was really good. I think at the end of the day, we've had a really good event too. And even if you've had a bit of a negative result, you know, you can summarise it with everyone's super passionate and super cares about what they do.
It's awesome to see. Event 2 done and dusted. It's gone like a whirlwind. Event 3, you alluded to it, Jake C, and 3 incredible tracks, iconic. We've got Spa, Zandvoort and Kota. Out of those 3, which ones can we really start to get excited for?
We have seen amazing racing at all of them, but I think every single time we go to Kota in this championship, we see something special, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
What about yourself?
He took the words right out of my mouth. Of course he has. No, I was very excited for Kota as well. But Spa-Francorchamps, one of the most notable tracks on the Formula One calendar. You can't not be excited to go there.
Yeah. What about yourself, Otis?
I think they're 3 amazing tracks, to be honest. I like all 3. I'm fairly quick in all 3. I was quick in league racing in the first 2, and Kota I got pole last year, so hopefully we can convert some good results next event.
Look at that, setting it up perfectly. And I love that sentiment. Never give up. Right, Alex Jakes, incredible to have you back for event 2. Kai Boccini, Otis Lawrence, congratulations on that win today. Nina, Jade, lovely to have you as part of the team. It's been excellent. I'm rounding things out. I'm waffling. But I'm basically saying to everyone as part of the team, and thank you so much to you guys for watching. You make this the sport it is, so thank you. Continue to do that. We'll be back for event 3, but round it out for this guy. He's top of the driver's standing, Otis Lawrence. What a last 2 days it's been.